Okay, last video, part three. So we talked about how I got cut off when I was explaining that Europa potentially might be able to support life. Probably not for a little bit because its atmosphere still needs to develop. It still needs to be cool for oxygen. We need to actually see life exist on that planet. But it's like the closest one of all of the moons and planets and stuff like that that is in our solar system outside of us. So Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun. It is the second largest planet in our solar system. It's often called the ring planet because it has a lot of rings of dust and rocks surrounding it. It's known for that. And it has over 31 moons. So Titan is a moon of Saturn that may have some conditions necessary for life. So that's pretty cool. The picture on the right, or I think it's on the left, shows how it might have been when a probe dropped on its atmosphere in 2004. Saturn was the Roman god of time and harvest. He was the father of Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. The Roman god name for that god is Kronos. Saturnalia was the midwinter festival in Saturn's honor, and basically there was a lot of like, it was a holiday. It was basically like Christmas. A day on Saturn is a little over 10 hours long, so it's pretty short compared to us. It takes 29 years to orbit the sun, almost 10 times larger. It's almost 10 times larger than Earth. It has the most visible rings of any planet. Like other planets might have rings, but we can't see them. Saturn, we can for sure see them. The density of the planet is 0.69 grams per centimeter cubed, so it's less dense than water. And if a large enough ocean could be found, Saturn would be able to float in it, basically. The period of rotation is 1,427 days, and the period of revolution is like 29 years. So quite a long time. Uranus is a very unusual planet because it sits on its side with its north and south poles sticking out on the sides. So like the north and south poles are like here and here on its side instead of being on top and bottom. It rotates around this axis, making it look like a ball rolling in a circle around the sun. And it has black rings, although we generally don't see it too often. It has some rings and it has some moons. Uranus is the great primeval god of the sky, born of Gaia, the earth. He covered the world in the form of a vast bronze dome and ruled over everything. The diameter is like 4 Earths, and the mass is like 14.5 Earths together. It takes 84 years to revolve around the sun, and the day is over 17 hours long. It has more than 20 moons. Uranus is considered unusual because it's on its side. This is due to the fact that its magnetic field is tilted 60 degrees from its axis of rotation. So unless, like, except for like we are a little bit tilted, but this is like completely, almost completely tilted. It's believed that Uranus was struck by a large object, and that's what knocked it on its side, and then it just stayed that way, and that's why it's like tilted in an odd direction like that. Neptune is usually the eighth planet from the sun. It's a very cold place, okay? However, sometimes Pluto crosses Neptune's orbit and, I mean, becomes the eighth planet. It's the dwarf planet, right? But it, like, kind of takes Neptune's spot. It, like, gets closer to the sun than Neptune is. The bluish color comes from the atmosphere of methane gas. So it's got an atmosphere, but it's methane. Neptune is the Roman god of the sea. The Romans modeled him after the Greek god Poseidon. It revolves on its axis every 18 hours. A day is like 18 hours long. It takes 165 years to revolve around the sun once. It has the mass of 17 Earths. It has 13 moons. It's about 4 times as large as Earth. And it's blue green colors from methane, and it's the at most times it's the first furthest planet from the sun. Um, its distance is 30 astronomical units away. It has 80% hydrogen, 19% helium, and 1.5% methane, but that's a lot more than we have. And at times it's the furthest planet, blah, blah, blah. Icy clouds, enormous storms are there. And there's possibly life on one of its moons called Triton, but it's difficult for us to figure that out. Pluto, which is usually the ninth planet from the sun, or the dwarf planet, is the smallest planet in our solar system. Some scientists believe that it was once one of Neptune's moons, but it pulled away and made its own orbit. And so that's the clearest view to date of Pluto and Charon right there in that picture. It would basically take up Earth. Yeah. Or sorry, the United States. Yeah. Anyway. Um, Pluto is usually the first planet from the sun, or when it was considered a planet. Now it's a dwarf planet. So nitrogen's taken that spot. It's 2/3 the size of our moon, so it's even smaller than our moon, and it has one moon Charon. It's so cold that the oxygen and the nitrogen in the atmosphere is frozen solid. It's the only planet or dwarf planet we haven't been able to visit by a spacecraft because it's so far away. It takes 248 years to make one orbit around the sun. When Pluto comes close enough to the sun, the surface of solid nitrogen produces like a cloud of atmosphere with wind and clouds and all that kind of stuff. Because the dwarf planet is so small, it does not have enough gravity to bind an atmosphere for very long. Therefore, the atmosphere is produced, but then it's lost at the same time. This means it doesn't have an equilibrium, it doesn't have stable atmosphere. Pluto's 39 astronomical units approximately away from us. It is a dwarf planet. It is the largest and known object in the Kuiper Belt. When discovered in 1930, it was considered to be a nine planet. This changed in 2006. So they have different pictures of like where it is from 1930. There was a Pluto Kuiper Belt flyby, basically 2006 to 2015. It was fly by and take pictures of Pluto. Okay, it has a really eccentric orbit because it's inclined at 17 degrees to our plane. Remember, it had that weird rotation, and so it gets closer to the sun at the perihelion, and then at the aphelion, it gets away from the sun by like another almost 10 astronomical units. So it goes close and then it comes far again. So that's why it averages out to 39. Comets. So comets are sometimes called dirty snowballs or icy mud balls. They're a mixture of ice and dust that for some reason didn't get incorporated into planets when the solar system was formed. And that makes them really interesting because they're samples of early history of the solar system. There's the Halley Comet in 1910. Comets have elliptical orbits, which means they're, like kind of like oblong shaped. When we see a comet, we actually are just seeing the tail of the comet as it comes close to the sun. Like we're not actually seeing the comet itself; we're just seeing the tail. The Kuiper Belt is the region's first formation. It's a basically debris, like an asteroid belt, but it's mostly ice, and it extends between 30 and 50 astronomical units from the sun. It's thought to be the source of small short period comets like Halley's Comet. It's mostly small solar system bodies, and it's got Pluto and Quaoar and Varuna and Orcus. Like they're, some kind of dwarf planets ish. Pluto is, you can see Pluto's orbit here, and then there's the orbit of the Kuiper Belt. The Oort cloud is like billions of comets all together, and it basically surrounds the the outside of our solar system. And it's got like billions and billions of comets floating around there because it wasn't included in our solar system. So that's basically it. I'm going to have you guys do an activity where you're going to learn a little bit more about our solar system. You're going to watch the Magic School Bus because they have a really good video on all of this. It reviews the content that we've gone over in just a little bit more concise detail and kind of applies weight, and so you can see how gravity is different and all that kind of stuff. And you have a worksheet to do with that. So there's a couple little things that I'm going to have you do, and then you'll be done for the week. All right. Cheers. Talk to you later. I'll have a good one.